Hello, followers! It is Nerdquest Podcast, as usual, here to you on Monday. Before we start, I gotta remind you guys, I forgot to do this last week, but I gotta remind you guys that we are not affiliated with the Nerdquest Indie Movie. We are just, your typical, everyday neighborhood podcast.
Alright, so we got
Jacob, me, as always, and we also have our other
Josh,
co-host,
a.k.a. Zorgulon, Destroyer of Worlds.
Already. You should know that before we even start that we have Zorgulon on here.
And we have two guests today.
We have two guests. We have a returning guest. You guys,
our first returning guest.
You guys should remember him from the Zombie Podcast, and we have
James the Amazing Gimp.
The James the Amazing Gimp. Hopefully
he's our favorite Gimp.
On the audio.
That's a new blog title. Your favorite Gimp.
Yep.
Alrighty.
If you don't mind. Also, we have a new guest. Someone who we've known for a little while.
Our good friend and benefactor, not Caleb Bodie.
Yeah, and he falls under the guidelines of our nerdy friends for sure. And his name is
Post J. LaPoche, deity of storage,
a.k.a. Pockets,
or
his actual human name,
Brian Johnson. But we all call him Pockets because Brian Johnson's, no offense, is a boring name.
And he's not human anyway. So
yeah, he's not. Yes.
He actually has a blog.
But then again, that begs the question: are any of us human?
Well, we know I'm not. I'm Zorgulon, Destroyer of Worlds.
I'm a Gimp. Gimps can't be people, right?
They're like gingers.
Yeah, and there go all our redheaded followers.
Yep.
See you one human being.
Go find your soul. Anyway, we do have a topic. We'll get around to it, but
we have a different topic than we have in the past.
We have something surprisingly Josh and I don't know a lot about when it comes to the nerd universe. It's two topics actually. Today is going to be a different kind of podcast. It's not going to be a lot of Josh and I are talking, which I'm sure you guys are glad of, or happy about.
Because we talk all the time.
We talk all the time. We talk very loud and over each other. Douche. When it comes to the world of steampunk and cyberpunk, Josh and I don't know a lot. I know a few things, like I was just told recently that BioShock is mainly biopunk, but the guns are steampunk. Mm-hmm. And then I was informed of what cyberpunk was. That's along the lines of Matrix and Blade Runner and
Fifth Element,
mm-hmm. which are all movies I really love.
Yeah.
And so before we even start this, I'm already leaning towards cyberpunk. But anyway, so how it's going to go is that it's going to be mainly Jamie and Pockets talking, and they're going to kind of educate us and debate on the two worlds of cyberpunk and steampunk. Yep. And at the end, Josh and I will kind of come to a decision of what we like better.
Yes, and so, the true winner, though, is whoever both we decide on and who gets more votes from you guys.
Yeah, so be sure if you're listening to this on Tumblr or you're on on YouTube. Comment below what you think won.
Yes.
And I mean, in the end, I guess it's really the listeners that win. Yeah. Yeah, that was really douchey of me to say. Yeah. Anyway, we're gonna get started on this. So before we start, you guys, what
are the definitions of cyberpunk?
Well, before we start that, list your name again, and then what you are.
In this corner, weighing in at 4,000 pounds in the world of steampunk,
we have
James.
So the Gimp is steampunk.
Yes.
And is there a reason why you like steampunk more?
Probably because it was the first type of genre like this that I was introduced to.
Okay.
Our mutual friend Conrad, actually.
I thought it'd be more along the lines because it's a big kind. It's science, very science oriented, isn't it?
Yeah, that's very true. It does include a lot of the mad scientist type of persona and stuff.
All right.
And that just kind of added on to it. But the real main reason is because it's what I saw first.
Yeah. All right, and then we have Pockets,
in this corner, weighing in at 5,000 pounds. The expert on cyberpunk,
Pockets. And
what got you interested more into cyberpunk?
It's the fact that this is it's kind of a, you could almost say that it's almost post-apocalyptic. Because think about it, the world, in most of them, corporations can rule the world, not the countries. Corporations make the rules, everything else.
Okay.
In a way, it could be because of nuclear war, countries don't give in a crap, or it could be they just naturally came to power.
I already think I know who Josh is going to pick, because I think one of it... Would Fallout fall under Cyberpunk?
Fallout is a mix of both, because it's got the retro feel from the 50s, and it's got the futuristic nuclear power and all that from Cyberpunk.
Your favorite series happens to fall right in between.
Yeah.
And the whole Venn diagram of Cyberpunk and Steampunk.
Yeah, it's like Cyberpunk, Steampunk, Fallout.
Alright, so go ahead and start us off with your definitions of Cyberpunk.
Cyberpunk is a postmodern science fiction genre noted for its focus on high-tech, low life. Features advanced sciences such as information technology and cybernetics, coupled with a degree of breakdown of radical changes in social order. Cyberpunk plots often center on conflict between hackers, AI, and megacorporations, and tend to be set in a near future rather than a far future setting or galactic vistas found in novels such as Isaac Asimov's Foundation or Frank Herbert's Dune.
So, like, iRobot.
Yeah, almost.
Yeah.
Would Tron fall under Cyberpunk?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Because a key factor of Cyberpunk is that it's the fact that you can hook up yourself to the internet.
Yeah.
And explore
Okay.
around
And so
all
so Tron is literally Cyberpunk.
Yeah, it
because
is
he's
cyber. Well, yeah,
falling
cyber.
into the cyber
Another
universe.
hardcore example of Cyberpunk for anime watchers is Ghost in the Shell.
Extremely good series.
Yeah.
I'm not an anime watcher,
I'm
so I
not a
wouldn't
huge
know.
anime. How do we have a nerd podcast without anime fans, you ask? Like this.
So is that was your definition of Cyberpunk?
It's just the one I'm just ripping from Wikipedia.
Didn't do any actual.
You could also...
No, go ahead.
Another aspect of it is that you could also say that it's very neo-noirish.
Okay.
Because...
I like the sound of that already.
Yeah.
It focuses on gumshoe detective work, sort of.
Stealth.
Okay.
Like, if you watch Burn Notice, that would be a modern...
Neo-noir.
For any tabletop gamers out there, Shadowrun is like the epitome of Cyberpunk.
Yeah, it is. It
Alright.
pretty much is.
And I've played Shadowrun once, and it was interesting.
Okay, Jamie, you how would you describe
Steampunk.
Steampunk? No, I'm not. Define. That's what I was going to.
That one.
I've drawn a blank. Sorry, guys. How would you define steampunk?
Again, just like Pockets, I'm ripping off Wikipedia because it's easier and I'm lazy. Steampunk is a subgenre of science fiction that typically features steam-powered machinery, especially in a setting inspired by industrialized Western civilization during the 19th century. Steampunk works are often set in alternate history of the 19th century's British Victorian era or American Wild West and post-apocalyptic future, during which steam power has regained mainstream use, or in a fantasy world that similarly employs steam power.
Oh.
So, if you want to rip it down to its bare bones, it's basically just retrofuturism. But it tends to stick within the bounds of the Victorian era or the Wild West.
See, now I'm really conflicted because there's the whole
Yeah.
neo-noir, which, if you know me, I love the period of noir, the 40s, but I also love the Wild West.
West.
Which, if anybody's seen the movie The Wild West with, I think it's Will Smith in
That's
it.
oh my god! I never.
That's steampunk.
That's
very
very
steampunk.
steampunk now that I think about
And,
it.
I
Giant
love that
steam
movie.
spider.
I-
so
yeah,
cool.
after hearing the definition, like that's a, and not only that, but like Gordon's inventions in that movie
Yeah.
with his bike and then the flying bike and
Yep, flying bike. That's another.
now I'm back to being
I'm
conflicted.
so torn.
I was pretty set on
Cyberpunk.
Cyberpunk, but then they with their definitions, like I'm like in the middle right now. So
and with Cyberpunk, like they had me at neo noir. I was like, oh,
yeah.
because it's the corporations are the mafia in that. But then steampunk with its Wild West. Oh, damn you!
Okay, so yeah, educate us a little more on steampunk. Like, give examples of where steampunk or cyberpunk has really shown. Like, you've already named a couple movies,
And also, if there are games like I know BioShock has a lot of steampunk influence,
which is a series I actually like. But BioShock Infinite, I guess it did.
BioShock Infinite was probably more steampunk than most.
Yeah, it's considering that it was a city
BioShock
floating in the city.
Infinite definitely was more.
But
steampunk than most.
suggest the games and then help us pick apart the cyberpunk and steampunk parts of it.
We're like I said, it's Josh and I are going to be. We'll throw input in, but we're going to be mainly listening today because we're being more educated.
We're learning,
and
this is our version of school.
Yeah.
So to continue on with steampunk,
Yes.
you want to trace it back to its origins. You could say it started with, let's see, Charles Babbage's The Difference Engine, which was a book written in the late 1800s. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein has a lot of what can be considered steampunk
Wait,
elements.
like Frankenstein's like the actual
Like
Frankenstein.
Frankenstein. The,
Really?
Yes.
Yeah,
Because
like
it is
bringing
retrofuturism.
something to life with lightning, like with all the technology he
Okay.
uses to. Yeah.
All right,
I
I
see
see.
it.
Yeah, I see it.
And I guess one that really kind of sets out as an early cornerstone is 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Yeah.
I
Oh, and I love 20,000 Leagues.
I never finished it fully.
Now, would you say that... Now, probably not. This is probably more biopunk than anything. But I'm thinking Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Elements, yeah, definitely could be considered steampunk.
It seems like from the way we've been talking, biopunk and steampunk kind of go hand in hand.
They
like,
can.
They can,
You
yeah.
can.
As
It
far as I
seems
know.
like if you find something with steampunk or biopunk, you're gonna find the other one with
I
Right.
mean,
with it.
Well,
not
'cause-
necessarily. If you look at The Difference Engine by Charles Babbage, it basically, the only thing that's different is it works around a Victorian society that has steam-powered computers and adding machines.
And he
weird.
wrote this
Yeah,
in the 1800s.
Yeah.
yeah. He actually built mechanics for a difference engine.
That kind of
And
reminds.
they've built modern models of it, and it's
Oh,
really
weird.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's sounds
bizarre.
awesome. Actually,
Yeah.
that sounds really awesome.
cool. Another thing it included that is really a cornerstone of steampunk is dirigibles. Flying airships as a means of transportation.
Really. So that was kind of steampunk come to life.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was.
Seeing how we actually did have dirigibles.
I'm going to, like, whenever that word comes up, dirigible, James and I are probably going to have, like, a minor argument because yesterday James and I were hanging out. We looked up the pronunciation of dirigible, and it's dirigible. There's emphasis on the I in the middle, and he pronounces it incorrectly to irritate me.
And because that's how I learned to pronounce it, and it just stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Mostly
like,
that.
Like me with words like sandwich.
Yeah.
Or how I say son of a bitch. I say son bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do the same thing.
I say it very southern like.
Some bitch. Anyway.
No, some beach.
You dirty son bitch, shut your mouth.
All right, then.
And
Anyway, back to topic.
This is
Do I hear
derailed
banjo
quick.
music?
This is derailed quick.
Okay, so back to...
I really think, learning from other podcasts, we should have at least one female for guests so they can keep us on track, whether it's MCAT or Jocelyn. But right now, we're gonna try our best to make our way through this as organized as possible.
So, Cyberpunk, your rebuttal.
We're still focusing on games right now, right?
Yeah.
Games
We're not-
or basically anything.
I guess you could say that in a way this isn't. We're not trying to say which one's better. They're giving us the insight on both, and it'll come down to like the person, like what.
Oh
they
yeah,
feel.
it'll come down to personal opinion.
Yeah,
It always
personal
does.
opinion. I guess there's because as of right now, from what I've heard, a little bit of both. I can't come to a decision because they've listed things that I've loved in both genres.
Right. And I think after we go through a couple games and movies and books, etc., and we should probably break down to like typical elements of like transportation, weapons,
Yeah.
etc.
Yeah.
So Cyberpunk's rebuttal for a couple examples.
Cyberpunk's the rebuttal is a lot of the big name movies, games, books for Cyberpunk is one of them is Deus Ex for the computer, that whole series,
And Xbox.
and
Yeah, because
Xbox.
I was gonna say it came out on console, didn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't played it. It looked like an interesting game though.
It's very interesting.
I have problems with Deus Ex Human Revolution.
Would
Oh, me too.
there was
Mine
a
are probably a lot
game.
more minor than yours.
There was a game that came out recently. I think it was Crisis 3.
Crisis. No, I don't think so.
I can't remember what it was, but it seemed. But I saw like stuff on it. It looked
Oh
very.
no, that's post-apocalyptic. Think about it, because New York's destroyed, trees overgrown everywhere. That's
That's post-apocalyptic.
That's post-apocalyptic.
yeah.
There can be marriages of steampunk, cyberpunk, and post-apocalyptic.
Uh-huh.
like
but,
Fallout.
Yeah, like Fallout.
Okay.
But
Like a lot of times, steampunk tends to be dystopic as well.
Yeah.
yeah,
For whatever reason.
See, what I'm getting kind of is that
It
like,
is.
is they both kind of balance each other. Like
they're the they're like Marvel and DC. They're like eternal rivals.
and not but they also at times work with each other too.
Yeah,
and they
always.
work really well.
Yeah, they do.
Okay. So back to some more examples.
Final Fantasy VII. That's very cyberpunky of a game.
I think I know what just sold Jake.
it is, but if you
You
do
just pulled out a haymaker on you just saying.
Matrix, that movie series, total cyberpunk. Think about it. You're jacking directly into the
Yeah.
internet to do things, to physically alter it.
And it's
Yeah.
very
I am the one.
Yeah, not to mention, the real world is post-apocalyptic.
Yeah.
RoboCop,
Oh,
Somebody
love
dies,
RoboCop.
comes back as a robot.
I was never a huge fan of it, but I'll admit it's a pretty
It's
cool.
a fun movie.
Yeah.
It's not like
Yeah.
particularly good, but it's fun.
Yeah.
Oh, would you say Demolition Man with Sylvester Stallone as Cyberpunk?
That would be kind of hard to define.
What would you define? Would Terminator fall into any of this?
Terminator.
That's got to be like totes Cyberpunk.
That seems like it'd be
I'm gonna
Cyberpunk.
kill myself later for saying totes.
Thank you.
I might kill you right
Thank
now.
you. For Demolition Man, for the people who are living underground, yes, without a doubt, definitely. But for the people above ground, utopian society.
Well,
that is
Now
not
I've never
Cyberpunk.
seen Demolition Man. Someone want to
So-
explain it real quick?
Basically, I'm Sylvester Stallone. He's a cop.
He's a cop.
From the 90s. He gets like stasis or something happens,
Yeah.
and he gets sent into the far future
Oh, okay.
and to break shit. That's basically his job.
Right on.
Hence the title.
Demolition
His
Man.
name. Oh, fun coincidence. His name is John Spartan.
Nice. Oh shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
that just clicked. Wow.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's probably coincidence.
And it's a pretty big movie in that genre. I think it's likely that. Oh, y'all know we're talking about Halo now.
you better not be listening to this podcast.
Go drink some Drano.
With Martini.
Nobody
Yes.
likes you.
No.
But
Yeah.
it's a pretty big movie in that genre, or whatever it is. And a big thing of it is he breaks everything, comes out on top, comes out without a scratch. He's incredibly lucky,
Okay.
which is a big point of Master Chief.
Yeah.
I think they probably got some things from that.
I guess you. I imagine that Bungie and now 343
It's
Industries.
probably a reference.
I'm sure there were a couple people in there that could pull that reference. Back to the Terminator real quick. Could it be considered cyberpunk, or would it be considered something else? Since technically it's not really set in any kind of like cyberpunk universe, it's about a time traveling machine.
The original movies, before it got to the John Connor movies,
Yes.
those would all be considered science fiction, time travel sort of thing.
Okay.
Maybe
So just kind of
post-apocalyptic.
standard sci-fi.
But the latest movie, which I believe was
Salvation.
Salvation, that could be considered cyberpunk because the humans are still
Very
in the
dystopian.
future, dystopian
There's a lot of technological.
breakthroughs
Yes.
that are a lot different from what we have.
Okay.
If you've played it, the new Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon game.
I was gonna bring that up
as
because
possible.
yeah, because it's set as an 80s game.
Yeah.
But the setting is in the future of 2007, which is kind of funny considering we're in 2013. I heard it's a great. I haven't had a chance to play it yet.
It is.
I heard it's
phenomenal.
a great game. I'm hoping they come out with a hard copy because my internet's always been iffy with my online.
Downloads.
So it's a download.
Dude,
So
download it here. Upload it to the cloud.
I can do that. Yeah.
Yeah. 'Cause
Anyway,
technology.
so
Yep.
that brings up another classic series,
What?
the $6 Million Man. Would that fall into either of these genres?
This sounds like it'd be cyberpunk considering how he's
I feel like it would be
technological based.
loosely cyberpunk.
Yeah.
All right, so like kind of, sort of, but not really.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
All right,
More
so
just genetical engineering and stuff like that.
Yeah.
yeah, all right.
I never got into the series, but I know the basis around
Well, it's
it.
a
how-
fairly old series. Actually, we gave my father a disc collection of it for Christmas. But all right, so that kind of, I think that'll wrap up the examples, like the examples big portion of it.
Yeah.
So
We'll still throw out stuff like that.
what would you give your point to for examples and stuff?
Right now I'm at a draw. I mean, the Final Fantasy VII was kind of a big one for me because, as you guys know, I'm a big Final Fantasy fan.
And Cyberpunk throws a haymaker in our face of Steampunk.
And I love the Final Fantasy series, but there's a lot of stuff that comes from Steampunk that I like to play games as well. I mean, I love the BioShock games. I love that Will Smith Wild West movie. And so right now I'm kind of at a draw when it comes to examples.
But Cyberpunk also has Fifth Element.
It does, but
and Bruce Willis.
yeah, I mean,
But Will Smith.
I could definitely see myself falling into the middle on this towards the end of the podcast because from you guys have been drawing, I just I love both of them. I love both elements of.
Well, let's each give a point per section.
Okay, you want to throw out your point?
I think my point's going to go to Cyberpunk because I love both of them, but I love the noir genre a little more than I love the Wild West.
Really?
Not a whole lot, but a little more.
I tend to love the Wild West more, and I've pointed this out in podcasts before that when it came to eras I'd want to live in, Wild West came first, and then noir came second. So
it's the opposite for me.
And I know we talked more about Cyberpunk in those last couple minutes, but I gotta say, I think Steampunk's going to pull the point out for me.
Okay, so each of them has 1 point.
Yep.
All right, so now let's go with weaponry. What sort of weapons would someone, a warrior in each of these universes possess?
Should you lead or shall I?
I'll start. Just keep the same order, I guess.
Yeah.
Weaponry types. They don't seem to be as fleshed out in Steampunk. I guess it tends to focus more on the day-to-day of society or on scientistry and stuff like that.
Well, feel free to extrapolate based on what you've seen in games.
However,
and stuff.
And there aren't many Steampunk games, so you can't really extract.
Well, no, but like we mentioned, Fallout has a lot of steampunk influence.
Yes. Yeah, and so does BioShock. Like you can tell, definitely BioShock 1 with the guns as you upgrade them, they get a huge
steampunk vibe.
Now, I don't know if they just did that basically for the game, but when you put a steampunk advancement on a weapon, would you say that it does dramatically affect the gun and it's
certainly, of course,
it does.
Yeah.
Okay, because like I said. Because I don't know the whole science behind steampunk,
right?
So I don't know if they just did it to make it look cool and then added the attributes to it of making it stronger and better.
I thought of one game that might change my opinion on steampunk versus cyberpunk.
What's up?
It's called Dark Void.
I've never heard of it.
I've never heard of it.
I actually have it in my games library. Just a second.
All right, but go ahead and continue on that.
Anyways, there are some examples of weaponry like laser type weapons play a huge role in steampunk. So giant laser guns and stuff like that.
Really, I never saw steampunk as a laser-esque.
Oh yeah,
really?
You hear lasers, and I would.
My mind describes that to cyberpunk.
Yeah, it goes to cyber, but
true. But for whatever reason, I don't know where the influence came from necessarily. I don't know the history.
But you know what? It'll be the 1950s ray guns.
Yeah,
true.
That's it.
And like
there you go.
Like we said at the beginning, they do kind of sometimes they go hand in hand. They meld together. So you can pull a cyberpunk influence onto a steampunk weapon, and it gives the steampunk the advantage.
Also, there are a couple other weapons that I can think of from steampunk. One is if you've seen the movie Jonah Hex, it's primarily one of those. At one point, he pulls out just unleashes this minigun that he has attached to his saddle.
Actually, it's dual miniguns.
Yeah,
to his saddle.
that's kind of steampunk.
That's very steampunk. All right, that's cool. So,
and I guess another kind of weapon class is pirateering. Plays a huge role in steampunk.
It does. Air piracy.
It's like the bread and butter for steampunk. Besides mad scientists,
I love pirates.
Pirates are pretty cool. I guess pirates would fall under noir for me when it goes in that order of West. Noir and then pirates, and just real quick, going back to, I just want to throw another example because I saw The Rocketeer. Would that movie fall under steampunk?
Yeah,
yes,
because
really hardcore.
Only because you showed me the Dark
Void was based on The Rocketeer.
Okay, because the guy on the cover looks very much like the protagonist from The Rocketeer.
Actually, I love The Rocketeer, the movie.
It was a good movie. It's an older movie.
Yeah, It has killing Nazis, which who feels bad about killing Nazis? And it has
Nazis.
And it also has the Mafia.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna love it. Mm-hmm. But it also has jetpacks, which I love.
Which
jetpacks.
Is another huge steampunk.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that later with transportation.
Yeah.
But in Dark Void, you have dual miniguns attached to the back of a jetpack, which just seems horrible
and beautiful.
Yes.
Now, when it comes to melee, would there be does steampunk have many melee weapons?
Whatever you can find on the ground.
Swords. A lot of them have special steampunk swords. Online, there are actually steampunk katanas you can buy.
That's a little
air piracy.
Now, what would you what kind of steampunk attachment would you put on a melee weapon to make
that was part of my point. That's a little just you don't see that as much. It's some people do it, I guess.
Yeah.
But
I mean, because most weapon attachments I think would fall under Tesla Punk.
Yeah.
Because what I first think of for a steampunk weapon attachment is an arc generator.
Yeah.
Considering Tesla was around during the Victorian era, I would put it as part of steampunk.
I think you could put Tesla under a subgenre for steampunk.
I agree, and diesel punk.
So
as well.
Tesla-based weapons would definitely be added there.
Yeah, because when thinking about melee weapons, like Josh said, I would think of like some kind of electronic or electric based melee weapon.
Yeah,
I don't know. I couldn't think of really anything else.
See, Dead Island.
I don't know if you. Yeah, I don't know. Wow.
No.
No,
it has
elements. Definitely not.
It has elements every now and again, but
I wasn't going to say it was a steampunk game, but I said would there be? You just said it for me. Would there be elements that would fall under steampunk? And like because you can upgrade your weapons with anything
you can
really.
find.
Yeah. And so
so we've got roughly 4 weapons or 4 classes of weapons for steampunk. That's ray guns, Gatling weaponry, pirateering equipment, and Tesla weapons.
Yeah.
So, you think that's about it, or?
But before, did we mention Star Wars before we recorded or not? I just want to throw this out because you had made a mention of how Star Wars.
I mentioned it, and if you're going very, very strictly, it could be considered steampunk because
I feel like there must be a stretch.
Like, at first, everyone would say, "No, it's not steampunk," but at the beginning of every Star Wars film was this a long time ago, and we mentioned a key to but we mentioned a key to steampunk is retrofuturistic.
Okay.
If you stay strict with the definition of steampunk, and most people don't.
Well, but you could say that is part of the steampunk family, but it was almost definitely not designed as it.
Right.
Yeah.
Because just kind of a big cornerstone of steampunk is Wild West and Victorian era.
I was going to say and we talked about because I took a film studies class in high school, and we talked about
Victorian Star Wars would be awesome.
Yeah, it would.
That'd be so cool.
We talked about how Star Wars can technically, if stripped down, can be thrown into the Wild West type category where it's good versus evil.
Could also be medieval.
That's true too. And
really?
Replace the lightsabers with swords. Bam.
Yeah, but the environment. Anyway, that's really off topic.
Yeah, that's going to derail this whole thing if we get into this.
Anyway, so I think that'll about cover it for weapons on steampunk.
Yeah, when it comes to cyberpunk, what
are we looking at for loadouts?
Loadouts? Well, it kind of depends on what you want to do. What sort of mission are you giving me? Give me an example of a mission.
You know what? Let's actually, because the kind of thing I was thinking of for steampunk is not playing to its strengths, which is, like James said, the day-to-day life. Let's go ahead and pull cyberpunk out of the water and say full-on military action.
Okay.
Full-on military action. Okay. About time size. So one of the better aspects, and I'm ripping this from Shadowrun because it's a great
Shadowrun is very
very cyberpunk, and it makes good examples. One of the abilities with the future is the future of 3D printing, which has come. Thank goodness.
It's actually a really exciting breakthrough, and I've seen examples of it on YouTube. 3D printing looks awesome.
And 3D food printing. They've done it now.
Yeah, I know.
But back on topic, what a lot of people can do in this is that they can give a loadout of an AK type gun, and they can put it into a nanoprocessor. That's their name for it. And they just feed it supplies, and out comes a gun.
Okay.
and very good for an army on the move that needs to be self-sufficient.
It sounds like it'd be really cheap, really
so
breakable.
From what I'm getting from Cyberpunk, it's not necessarily throwing kind of an attachment on it that makes it better. It's more about using technology just to make weapons.
Exactly. Or there are a variety of attachments you can.
What would like a soldier's loadout be?
Soldier's loadout, it would be a assault rifle, something like an M16 derivative, or
so a lot of ballistic weapons.
Ballistic weapons, maybe a serrated combat knife. What a standard an army person would wear? Serrated combat knife, backup pistol.
So it's very modern-like weapons.
Very modern-like weapons, but then again, you put on a future twist of a smart gun system where you're linked through your head to the gun, and then you see what your gun sees, and when you pull the trigger, you can do everything that a sniper could. Or retroactively.
Basically, your mind is linked to your gun.
Yeah. Okay. I get what you see there. We threw in...
That looks like as a whole weapons class on its own.
We threw in melee for Steampunk. Yeah. I guess, so for melee for Cyberpunk, from what you're making it sound like, it'd just be like a normal melee weapon.
It would be a normal melee weapon. If you wanted to go a little more exotic, you could get stun, like taser clubs.
Alright, so...
Taser clubs,
Tesla weaponry.
There's a Tesla weaponry, which is
probably look a little more sleek though.
Yeah, it'd have a more
just a little
futuristic look to it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I see what you mean.
Well,
So
we got one more weapons class to get from them first.
What?
From him first. Well, no, it's just we got 4 from Steampunk. We might as well
Okay.
get 4 from Cyberpunk.
Do you have one more? Like one more weapons class that you talked about? It doesn't necessarily need a fourth one. I mean, you could go with what you have right now, but if you could think of another one.
If I could think of anyone, I would think it would be the the explosives part, because a lot of people don't get a chance to talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
One of the advantages of it is that of Cyberpunk is that you can have a backpack rocket that just fires on itself independently at targets that it can just seek out automatically.
So it's like a living backpack that fires rockets.
Yes, exactly.
No,
It's like Chesty, but worse.
There's no such thing as worse than Chester.
So, I'm just gonna try to throw out an example of like how you could use this. Like, so basically, would it be like linked up to you, and like when you see a target, you can like somehow lock onto it, and then the backpack just starts launching stuff at it.
Yeah. Have you ever seen You ever played the first Mercenaries game?
I haven't.
Okay, in the first Mercenaries game, one of the first things you get is a laser designator, and you just point it at an artillery piece or whatever. In comes the surgical strikes and pops it.
Okay.
I think you would work on a thing like that, or again, future. You just look at something, takes a picture.
That goes back to the smart link.
Yeah, pretty much.
No.
Another
Go ahead.
another aspect of it is that you can also time your bullets or rockets, what have you.
I feel like we're going Deadliest Warrior on this.
I just got that because I was about to throw out an example of like if you were to throw one Cyberpunk guy against a Steampunk guy and go at
let's
it.
see.
Like,
So, what about a Cyberpunk enforcer and a Steampunk pirate?
okay. Yeah, just with the loadout, basically what we've been talking about, they go up against each other. Like, it seems like Cyberpunk would have the advantage, but
I'm not saying that I'm better because I know I am.
Don't worry about the applause,
Chance.
people. He hears it constantly in his head.
To give him a chance, what sort of arena would we be in? Would we be in like some sort of industrial complex?
let's throw.
I was gonna say throw him on a dirigible.
I was gonna say throw them into a very kind of Fallout location of like a rundown city that's kind of falling apart.
Okay. Would it be like right after the bombs go off where everything's falling apart, or would it be like
No,
settled
this
in?
is already
We're
long.
in the middle of the Capital Wasteland.
Okay.
Yeah,
There you go. We'll throw. Yeah, just throw out.
Throw out a plug for my favorite game.
He's trying to buy points right now.
Yeah.
I would say I would have to put it on to the cunning. It would either go to one of two ways. Either the Cyberpunk guy would, because of all the future technologies, he could locate him instantaneously, pretty much.
Okay.
Unless
I can see it.
Unless the pirate is very...
How, though?
Yeah,
Because
how?
Cyberpunk works by manipulating other technological materials and AI pieces. You're not going to be able to detect a dirigible that has no computer information on it and is powered by steam.
That's true.
That's true. It could work.
But wait, are we adding vehicles into the mix?
I
thought this was just going to be
we can probably
straight up-
get to that later.
No, let's do that. Let's save that one for a vehicular one.
Because we haven't
for
got
now,
to
it's just-
transportation yet.
For now, it's just mono a mono.
Okay.
And even so, my point stands.
Yeah. How are you gonna detect him when he's using all steam powered and or mechanics based weaponry and equipment?
Steam is hot. Think
Yeah,
about
thermal.
it. Thermal.
Yeah, you could, but
You can have cool running steam, though. It's kind of like cold fusion.
It does exist. It's just very hard to get.
Yeah.
but looking at the steampunk universe, if you're putting up the best steampunk fighter against the best cyberpunk fighter, you know the steampunk fighter's gonna
he's going
have
to.
everything he can possibly do to make himself less
More
noticeable
effective,
and
yeah.
more
Right.
effective.
I feel like this is weird because I feel like both warriors would rely a lot on stealth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I feel like they'd be equally matched.
I would
I
say
actually,
two.
honestly, I would give it. I think it would go to the steampunk because he has less technology and he's less prone to relying on it.
Yeah.
I was gonna go cyberpunk because of the technology, but now that you throw that out, it kind of makes sense because he could throw the cyberpunk curveball to where maybe he's using something to where the cyberpunk guy can't pick up on it, or he could somehow disable the technology.
Yeah, I think this goes back to the arena. Like if it's in the middle of the Capital Wasteland, like I don't know if whoever played Fallout 3 in the middle of the wasteland, there is nothing.
Yeah.
There's
Exactly.
land.
That's why I picked it.
Right. So honestly, in that scenario, I would give it to the Steampunk Warrior because he's got the advantage. Honestly, because as James pointed out, Cyberpunk is a lot about manipulating technology that's around you anyway.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But if you throw him in just the middle of a wasteland, where there's nothing. Are we talking about like the middle, just like the desert wasteland?
Yeah.
I would give it to Cyberpunk. Because I feel like there's nothing for the Steampunk to really use it as his environment to hide behind and use to his advantage. If it
don't need to, I'll just ray gun your ass.
He could. I think in a city, I think Steampunk would have a lot more advantage because they can hide more, and they can use that to their advantage.
I would actually give that one in like a city to Cyberpunk because you can manipulate the computers that are already in the area.
But if you think about throw it into a Fallout like environment,
you have plenty of working terminals and robots.
Yeah, that is true.
You do have a point.
But I like for this, I would say Steampunk because I actually think someone who's grown up, especially like we're going with an air pirate, is going to be more cunning because he doesn't have the technology to rely upon that a Cyberpunk.
He's got to depend on his wits.
Yes.
While if you disabled a Cyberpunk, like their
Smart Link.
Yeah, their Smart Link.
Yeah,
they're basically.
But no, that's just.
Right
but they can still shoot. It's not like you knocked him out or blinded him.
Yeah, but he has less to work with. Disabling that.
Whereas if they're in a city, even in like Fallout 3, that's probably going to end up going to. It'll be either way. It'll be a cool fight.
It would be. Yeah. I would love to see a fight like that.
But I think in the city, it'll go to Cyberpunk, and in the Wasteland, it'll go to Steampunk. It's kind of like Rocky versus Rambo. If it's in a ring, it's going to Rocky. If it's in the jungle, it's going to Rambo.
Okay, so. If we were to get, I would give this part a draw. I wouldn't be. I don't know.
I can't see touch. I can't
because there's too many factors to throw in here.
Yeah.
To give one the advantage. So I would definitely say on the loadouts and the weapons, give it a draw. If you were going off like aesthetic wise, I would give it to Steampunk because I think Steampunk looks cooler.
Well, here let's just go with let's run through all the types of weapons they have and go with our personal opinion on what we think of the weapons.
All right, go ahead.
So for Steampunk, we have ray guns against the Cyberpunk small arms weapons, ballistic weaponry.
Okay.
For the next one down, we have Gatling weapon. Oh yeah, we have Gatling weaponry versus the Smart Link.
All right.
The piracy equipment, which I mostly relate to melee combat.
Yeah.
And the serrated and combat knives of Cyberpunk, and the Tesla weaponry, kind of their big cannon against the backpack rocket.
It's like I seriously, I'm out of jaw right now.
I've seen Errol Flynn movies. I have to give it to Steampunk.
I'm gonna give it a draw. If you want to give it to Steampunk, give that point to Steampunk.
I'm gonna give mine to Steampunk.
1.5 it.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So Steampunk, that's Josh, and then we each get to give 1 point. So far, we've Cyberpunk and Steampunk are each at for the first rank, 1 each.
Yeah.
Second one, Steampunk has one, Cyberpunk doesn't.
Okay.
Because it's in the middle.
All right.
All right.
You mentioned transportation. Let's talk about transportation of the Steampunk era.
All right. Well, I already covered my favorite one a little bit.
The dirigibles.
No.
Jetpacks.
The jetpacks.
Jetpacks.
Yeah, steam-powered jetpacks are definitely a big thing in Steampunk.
Yeah.
Ever heard of the anime Steam Boy? That's
never.
I have. I
have not.
Trains, of course. I mean, Victorian era trains make
Okay.
sense. Dirigibles, which are basically giant pirate ships that float in the air.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That one's just awesome.
Cannons
I'm sorry.
in the air.
So that happened.
Yep.
Yes.
And what about sea travel?
Sea travel?
Yes. Is there any?
Probably.
I imagine like
I imagine
the
a
Nautilus.
dirigible.
A
The
what?
Nautilus.
Yeah.
If you've seen League of Extraordinary Gentlemen,
Oh,
the Nautilus.
The
Yeah.
giant ass
That's
submarine.
another
Yes.
good
Okay.
steampunk.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Movies.
Now to think about it.
Okay, so that's 4 from Steampunk. You want to go to Cyberpunk for transportation?
Oh yeah, go ahead. Cyberpunk.
Good luck.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
I'm not sure if I should go with the cannon now or later. Well, I think I will. For the big one, the Nebuchadnezzar from the Matrix.
It's the
floating,
giant.
They're giant floating.
That's
hover
their.
ship.
That's their. Is it a hover ship?
Yeah.
Oh, I never.
Yeah,
caught that.
it uses.
Hover pods.
It does, yeah, like that kind of like
So,
reverberate off those.
so if you were
mountains
to
or
jet-
air around
That's
them.
more just sci-fi though than it is steel.
Yeah, you see that in a lot of different
that's
sci-fi.
not
That's not
strict
really
to the
cyberpunk.
genre.
Okay, well, then again, we don't really have that much in the way of a lot of different things. It's more of what a person can do with a car that makes it a little more difficult.
Right.
Like, again, Shadowrun, because this is just a
What-
great way to go.
Nah, that's more just sci-fi in general.
What?
I was gonna go with like Fifth Element, the floating cars.
That's
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's not. That's not.
general sci-fi.
I would throw. I would throw
the-
the Nebuchadnezzar just to play just as for namesake. Just throw it under Cyberpunk transportation.
So by the way, the reason I said shit and the one we forgot is a very important steampunk one.
What?
Mechanical horses.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wild West.
Yes.
Not necessarily the movie. I don't know if that. It's been a long time.
The
since
Will
I've seen that
Smith
movie.
one?
Yeah.
No, they don't have.
They don't have mechanical horses.
No,
They
But
have
like-
mechanical bicycles.
But like,
Yes.
but like
The reason I
mechanical
guess-
horses are a pretty big thing in steampunk.
Okay.
Yeah.
The reason I guess I don't tend to bring up a lot of stuff like that is because I like to focus more on the Victorian era
Right.
type stuff, which doesn't involve mechanical horse. It's not Wild West.
Right. That those would be the chariots that pull them, or the
Yes.
the carts that pull
Steam
them.
powered chariots that go at like a jillion miles an hour and have laser guns on the outside.
But so we got the Nebuchadnezzar.
Another one thing that it's not a standard vehicle, but it would be something for, I think, Cyberpunk, and I think it would be a fitting. It's something that a rigger can do to a car. What a rigger is a person that can link their mind with a vehicle, control it like themselves. Kind of like
So they're not in the vehicle.
they are the vehicle.
They are the vehicle. Okay.
That's. I'll just put rigger down as the vehicle.
Okay.
So
But I wanted to talk more about what they can do with it. Like, have you seen Stripes?
no.
Strike.
that movie.
The Bill Murray movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, remember that tricked out RV at the end?
Yes.
That could be something that a rigger does to a car.
Oh.
Tricks it out, armor
Okay.
plate. It's pretty much an armored RV that has guns, flamethrowers, rockets, any attack assault
Welcome to
capabilities.
Twisted Metal.
So would the Green Hornet's car fall under like a rigger or?
It could, but then again, that would be more than
Well, that's more prep time than anything
Yeah.
else.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's Kato being a boss.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who wins this match? Kato.
Yeah.
Wild card.
yeah.
One of the examples that I'm looking at on the one of the Shadowrun books is called the Revolution, and it's the mono wheel bike from
So it's a unicycle.
no mono like a General Grievous's bike. Thing.
Oh, the big wheel that he
Yeah.
sits. Oh,
It's like it's like a
Like a
gyro
Men in Black
bike.
3,
Yeah.
Men in Black 3 thing that they have under their car.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's
that's pretty awesome.
So Jamie
This-
gave off a couple like air transportation.
Air, yeah,
What
air,
would-
land, water, and person.
I know you gave Nebuchadnezzar, but I don't know if Nebuchadnezzar would last as an airship, because if you've seen the third Matrix,
What Matrix sequels?
that we don't like to talk about, they take
What about
the
Hulk?
Nebuchadnezzar up above the clouds, but it can't sustain itself up there
Right.
because
they
from
need
what-
to
from
vibrate off things.
yeah.
Yeah. So are there any actual like airships?
Self-sustaining airships that can last.
Yes and no. Just think about it. Solar power. We already have a solar-powered airplane right now, and with Cyberpunk, it's just it's high tech, getting better and better. So smaller, lighter. We could have.
Oh, so
in essence-
theoretically, you could have a dirigible that is solar powered.
Yes, exactly.
All right.
Another thing that I kind of want to point out, just because I think it's cool, is in some of the novels for mass transportation, buses have been outdated, and now we use Boeing commuter buses that fly in the air for buses.
That's pretty awesome.
That sounds pretty cool.
And I mean, it's
So
a
those
very-
would like take the place of the trains in Steampunk.
no, it take the place of buses because trains are still.
If you're comparing the genres,
Oh, yeah.
it'll take the place of trains.
It's
Yeah.
the equivalent. And
Flying buses.
I'm sure being Cyberpunk, you could somehow outfit it with a weapon
Oh,
system.
they've made
Whereas
it so
a
that-
train is a weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have made some Cyberpunk people have even made it so that remote controlled dolls can have little guns to get out of themselves.
That's
It's a weird way.
kind of terrifying.
Yeah.
Why didn't that come up in terms of weaponry?
But it's because think about it, it's transportation. Could use it to move.
Could Transformers fall under this under any under like a cyberpunk genre, or would it just be that just be flat out sci-fi?
To me, that's standard sci-fi.
I think that's sci-fi if you wanted to really put it in.
stretch.
I was gonna say I was gonna suggest like
especially since they're aliens, they're not.
They're not man-made. Okay,
Right.
so yeah, we'll say that Transformers falls under sci-fi then.
It's not really transportation, but it's still another aspect of it. It's the uses of drones in Cyberpunk.
Mm-hmm.
Which, if I recall correctly, they can be used as transportation.
Yes, they can.
Yeah.
Which are weapons.
Yeah. Yeah, transportation of weapons are pretty much one in this sort of
Yeah. So is that gonna anything more important? Because like right now we're at 5 and 5.
Okay, I say
I think we're good.
I think we're good transportation wise. Transportation wise, I'm probably gonna give it to Steampunk.
I'm actually probably gonna give it to Steampunk as well. I mean, just because jetpacks, and
the Nautilus.
dirigibles,
it seems like you have more.
The Nautilus.
You're gonna have more variety.
It's a little more. It seems a little more
creative.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I don't really want to use the term creative because I don't think that's exactly the sentiment I'm trying to express, but it fits.
When it comes to, from what I can take from cyberpunk vehicles, it's not really like you creating something. It's
about the person doing it.
It's about the person doing it, but it's also just about advancing modern.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. There's
transportation.
no real innovation.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe the steampunk. Is the transportation is more innovative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so what about? Culture?
Culture-wise,
I was gonna say style, clothing-wise, and then go into music, but I figured I could just knock it out with culture specifically.
Yeah. Okay.
Or less specifically.
Culture-wise, like what would?
What do you mean by culture-wise? Do you mean the culture of the universe, or the culture is how it's expressing itself?
What are the most common cultural motifs in each of these universes?
What would be like when it came, if you went up to someone and said, okay, who like really loves steampunk or cyberpunk, and said, describe like what a normal steampunk person would wear, so not so much. Yeah, I understand the full question you're asking me now. Is there is a steampunk culture in reality? Oh, I know there is.
Right. Well, that's partially saying it for our viewers' benefit. But that's not what we're getting into. We're getting into the universe of steampunk and cyberpunk for this.
Okay, excellent. As I've said many times before, the culture kind of tends to hinge on Victorian England or American Wild West.
Right.
And in the Victorian England side, which is what I focus on the most because I think it's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Aesthetically, is of course.
Would you say just real quick, BioShock Infinite? Would you say that fell under more
very much so
Victorian?
Very much.
I saw. I could now that I'm thinking about it, I saw. You could really see that.
Yeah. So the fashion that comes with that would be like frock-tail coats and big ballroom gowns.
So Victorian
parasols.
fashion.
Yeah.
Maybe modify a little, but...
Well, yeah, I was getting to that. I was just
sorry.
The framework.
Oh, okay. So
I should stop talking.
Yeah, I think a good way to sum up would be like think Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
Holmes.
There you go.
Like the recent Robert Downey Jr. movies.
Honestly,
that style.
The movie that I never saw but really wanted to, that crossed my mind, is a perfect example of steampunk. And it's the most recent Three Musketeers movie.
I haven't seen it either.
Yes.
Was that a steam?
I saw a
steampunk.
little bit of it, and it seems very steampunk.
I know. Yeah, I didn't see it.
The commercials had a dirigible.
Okay.
Dirigible?
I wonder if this movie is steampunk. Was it a dirigible? Yeah, steampunk.
Basically, yeah.
But modifications that tend to go into that. Let's see. A lot of brass accoutrements, like bracelets and stuff like that. One of the big things, and I don't know where this came from, but it looks really cool, is steam-powered hats that like have pipe tails on them.
Yeah, I've seen those.
Oh yeah, those are cool.
And clocks and stuff.
I notice a lot of people wear. I think this falls under the. This might fall under the Western side. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I see a lot of people wear like they have like goggles on, or, like hanging around their neck.
The goggles tend to fit either into the
aviation clothing.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
Question.
I was going to expound on the goggles.
Okay.
Quick aside question.
Yes.
Okay. In terms of an air pirate, because I'm kind of hung up on that idea.
I know, it's awesome.
But, okay, so in terms of clothing of an air pirate, would that be more like we would see in a modified traditional pirate garb, or would that be more of the Victorian classy, or would that be outlaw, or would it depend on where you are in the universe?
It would, from what I like and where I've read, would definitely be the Victorian era type classy clothing with additions of like goggles and various watches and stuff to try and keep track of all the stuff going on with the ship and where they're going.
Okay.
Like, let's see, planisphere watches are kind of a big ones. They're watches that
I have seen those.
are very large and track where the planets are moving and navigation of the ship.
That's cool.
So that actually
Yeah.
turns me off of it a little bit.
Really?
Yeah. Maybe that's just because I envisioned like a modified Buccaneer in this, which I would be all over that.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, that's just because I had this preconceived notion of it already, and so that kind of
Shame on you.
I know.
This might be digging in the well. I don't know because I watched it recently on Netflix. The Disney Treasure Planet. Would that fall
Yeah.
under?
No, really? It's been a while since I've seen it, so maybe
It deals
no.
with a lot of aliens. And
Atlantis would.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. Atlantis is very. It's very steampunk.
I think what was it? Treasure Island?
Treasure Planet.
The Treasure Planet. That would fall under sci-fi western.
Yeah.
Like Cowboy Bebop and Josh Whedon, Serenity.
Josh Whedon.
Josh
Whedon.
Shut up.
There are two S's there. There's no H. But yeah, no, Serenity and Firefly.
Yeah.
Okay. All
I
right.
love
Yeah.
Firefly.
And-
Any brown coats watching?
Yeah.
You should comment.
That Victorian era doesn't mean there's not necessarily.
Okay, so there could
because
theoretically be
when
the
you said-
Buccaneer as a.
When you said dirigible pilot, I was thinking just pilot,
Oh, no,
not pirate.
Yeah, no, I meant I tried to say, but I slur my words sometimes, so it may not have come out that way.
Yeah.
Tried to say air pirate.
Oh, then yes, definitely more Buccaneer.
Okay.
Traditional pirate.
Okay.
type.
Back
Because
on the
that
steampunk
makes
side of
sense.
this.
Yes.
Anything as to music or art, or is there anything that generally appears often?
Art and music would have just been the art and music of the time.
All right.
Okay. So yeah, nothing.
As far as art and music and affected by steampunk, I don't know if you want to do a separate piece on stuff like that.
Maybe save that one for a later one.
Maybe later one, or maybe like just a quick side note
Yeah.
blurb
Okay.
after we.
Because there is
discuss this
steampunk
more.
music and steampunk art,
Okay.
of course.
And cyberpunk, where culture wise, what would you see?
Any motifs or like typical clothing or?
Typical clothing, it would be...
I know you're a fan of a bomber jacket, which shows up a lot in Shadowrun.
Yeah. Bomber jackets, those, yeah. Well, it also shows up in Steampunk as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really depends on who you're going for. I mean, if you're going for a business exec, nice new tailored suit with some armor into it, because business dealings have gotten incredibly dangerous in the future.
Right.
For just your
dangerous now.
for your standard runner, shadow runner, I would say it would be something along the lines of an armored vest.
Okay, so
Lancaster.
I'm hearing lots of armor, not necessarily like comfort or aesthetically appealing. I mean, like obviously they're going to.
Cyberpunk by its nature just isn't very aesthetically.
It's not really.
pleasing.
It's not.
It's supposed to be jarring visually.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like there's a lot of like just casual.
Any color motifs like brasses
Black.
and steampunk. Oh,
Black, brown, dark colors.
all right.
Okay,
So
bland muted colors, I guess.
Yeah, very much so.
All right.
Yeah, it kind of fits in with the whole dystopic vibe of.
Yeah, because I know in Matrix they didn't wear armor stuff, but they
wore
wore
lots of black.
Lots of black,
yeah.
but lots of raggedy stuff too.
Oh, yeah.
Just torn up, really just
That also took
homeless like.
most of it took place in what was supposed to be a standard '90s ghetto, though.
Okay.
Art wise,
Yeah,
like what we have now for Cyberpunk art, or art that would be in the Cyberpunk
in
universe,
Cyberpunk
In
universe.
Cyberpunk universe.
it would be as varied as art is now. You could have neo
So basically,
Victorian art, you could
the
have
same type of
Mona
things
Lisa.
as.
as what we have now. It's the now and the future, but crappier.
With better tech.
Better tech.
Music wise, in the. Oh, sorry. What were you gonna say?
You would think that in a cyberpunk universe, art styles like Dada and avant-garde and stuff like that would catch on more than any other art style, just because their
it's
whole
so,
concept of fuck the world, everything's ugly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, James.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody here knows what Dada and avant-garde are.
No.
Nope.
Okay.
I-
Take too much time to explain.
Music-wise for Cyberpunk, like just in the Cyberpunk universe.
I would say
Because most of like the music from Shadowrun, I understand, actually is more from the fantasy side of it.
it is really
Which is not standard Cyberpunk.
No, it's not. It is a little bit more. Some pieces can be a little more dramatic or dramatic brass band pieces, or it could be just straight up hard techno, and it's
Okay,
just
so it's
blaring in
basically
your ear.
same as today.
Yeah.
So you be hearing like Skrillex or Daft Punk
Yeah.
or stuff like
That'd
that.
be hilarious.
Yeah.
Like playing a Shadowrun game, and all of a sudden there's a Skrillex concert.
they actually, it's not Skrillex, but they did do that in Black Ops, which you could maybe, if at a stretch, could consider that Cyberpunk.
Are you talking about the newest Black Ops?
Black Ops 2.
I can
Haven't played
kind of see it just in the main like title
Yeah.
screen. You can kind of see a Cyberpunk feel because
It's a dude putting on glass, and it's like, "Welcome, David Mason. You're typing into a
and then, you
Yeah,
type into
that's
armband,
kinda-
and then it just like,
that's
and then your
Cyberpunk.
screen pops up.
yeah."
Like the Pip-Boy from Fallout 3.
Yes.
Wait, the Pip-Boy Cyberpunk?
I would say so.
I would.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of hooked into you. It
That's
measures
true.
your
That's
vitals.
true.
And if you could actually miniaturize a computer to be
Yeah, that takes
small,
some pretty
Yeah,
awesome
that's some
tech.
advancement.
yeah.
All right, so
One thing that I do want to hit on is that there have been recent places that do just straight up look like cyberpunk places, like
Chernobyl.
well that. But I'm more talking about this.
Well, we can, they
Well,
can't.
I know.
We'll throw the picture.
Oh, it's the Sony Center. Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Sony Center in Berlin.
I'm just trying to look at it again.
You can just Google it. I mean,
We'll throw
Well,
like, a
no.
link into the Wikipedia.
yeah, because
description
I don't know
or
if that's a royalty free picture.
Yeah.
And there's also the Cyberdock in Shanghai.
I'll Google that later.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
it's very block, very bland, very.
Very Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just Google it. We're a podcast. We're all audio, so
We can throw pictures in if we wanted to. What about the new building in
But we
Dubai?
don't
The
know if
world's
those
tallest building.
Oh yes.
Would that fall under? Would you consider that like a cyberpunkish building, or?
I'm trying to think. What is it called?
I wouldn't. It's just kind of a building.
what about religion?
Oh, we didn't think about
Ooh,
that.
yeah.
Would religion come into
Do you
a
want to
play
go into
though?
that? Do you want to go into that in another section though?
Yeah,
Well, that's-
well,
It's kind of like there's. Well, I mean, it's a subsection of culture.
yes.
Okay.
So, yeah, like I imagine you correct me if I'm wrong. In a steampunk like religion, I imagine it's just like it's a lot like the music and arts all the time. It's whatever was going on at the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's whatever was popular. Whatever
So if
was
it's
happening.
Victorian era, I imagine that religion,
Protestant Christianity.
yeah.
And then as time went on, deism and Age of Enlightenment happened.
Right.
So it would.
And
yeah,
as
it
for
would span
religion in Cyberpunk, do you know of anything? I mean,
Most people would probably be atheistic from how depressing and
I was
horrible
gonna
it
say,
was.
I was
yeah,
thinking it's
it's
probably
sad,
atheistic,
but-
maybe secularism.
As much as I would like to say yes, atheism, I think that everybody needs religion, especially in a time of very big
A
darkness.
crisis.
Like this. And I was, again, Shadowrun, I'm going back to it, is that there was a religion of, it was called conservatism, not like,
Right.
Democrats.
This is- yes.
This is more of like returning your own body to the ground and being that sort of recycler mentality to it.
So kind of like an Asian type religion, I
Almost
guess.
like Taoist.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be.
Taoist, maybe a little bit of Buddhist influence. Actually, to me, it sounds a little bit, not much, but it sounds a little bit like
Hindu.
Celtic.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and again,
Giving back
You-
to the earth to feed the earth. And
We
all.
won't go into religion a lot, but like I guess
Yeah.
you can kind of say that with a lot of religions, they all a lot of them kind of blend, and
Right.
a lot
Yeah.
of them have the same ideals.
That's a
and
perfect way to describe the cyberpunk religion. Blended.
just blended,
Just
just
a
kind
blended
of
religion.
Yeah.
everything thrown into one, and
and then again, it would also be like Jamie. There are still hardcore tenets of Catholicism,
Right.
that would still survive.
Okay.
Thinking we've hit on weapons, transportation, culture, religion. Anything else we want to hit with this, or
you're the man. You're the man with the plan right now.
all right? So,
drawing out the blueprints. I'm just here throwing in input.
yeah.
I have, since I actually came prepared and I boned up on my
Holy
this
crap.
before I came
I was
Hey,
thinking
you
about
came
that. I was
prepared?
thinking about that last night, but I didn't
Besides
know-
me?
But there was a chance that this podcast wasn't going to happen today, so I was like, I should look into this. And I'm like, oh, if it's not going to happen, what's the point? And I should have done it
Knowledge.
anyway.
Well, first, before Pockets starts this, let's assign points.
For culture?
Hold on.
Yeah.
Well, did we do it for transportation?
Yeah, I think we gave it to Steampunk because
Yeah,
it's
we
more
did.
innovative.
Yeah. So culture,
Do you want to split this up into the subgenres we talked about, or just culture as a whole?
culture as a whole.
Culture as a whole, I think I'd give it to Steampunk. It seems mainly because the big draw of Steampunk is the fact that it's not as depressing and it's not as just hard life.
Honestly, since brass and bronze are two of my favorite colors, I'm probably gonna give it to
So you're going
as well.
aesthetically wise. I'm going more more along the lines of like how if I was living,
Their ethos. They're
Yeah, if I was what I would rather live in, and what would be a happier time.
Whereas the culture, like a large part of that was like the style of clothing and things like that. And also like a large part of it, we talked about architecture.
Yeah,
It also comes down to what do you want to look at all day?
yeah, it's true. But like, also what I feel safest in because in a cyberpunk culture, the way
Because both of these cultures are very much about the day to day.
yeah, in a cyberpunk culture, the way we've been talking about sounds like it's a struggle, day to day struggle.
It's fairly
where-
Orwellian.
Which actually attracts me to Fallout 3.
Yeah,
That's
but I would rather live comfortably if I had
Oh
to
yeah, no,
choose.
personally, oh yeah.
And so I think for me, I'm gonna go with Steampunk for
Safety and for
just because of that, and I think just overall
I feel like there's
aesthetically
more-
wise, Steampunk would look better.
I have a very specific. I'm gonna sound like Liam Neeson for a second, but in a very different way. I have a very specific set of skills, but I do. But most of mine are geared towards art and appreciation thereof.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I would also go Steampunk because it seems like they have more. They're more art and art oriented and appreciative of that. So that's
When like we said, Cyberpunk's it's about survival. Yeah. It's about just making it to the end of the day.
right. Whereas, like if I'm in like my gaming persona,
Yeah.
I think I could actually do
Lean
it
towards more cyber. Or... Cyberpunk in the
But
gaming world.
the culture we didn't touch on with Cyberpunk is the whole neo-noir thing.
Mhm.
It's got the mafia, and like I feel like not everybody is struggling to live till the end of the day. I mean, there are people
majority.
right, or like not even like struggling till the end of the day. Maybe like struggling to make ends meet, but still like surviving. Which I've actually kind of lived in that scenario a little bit.
When you lived in LA.
Yeah, I did have a lot of support from my family, which thank God, because I literally would not have been able to survive down there without them. But there was a certain appeal to it, a certain like masochistic appeal.
In a video game setting, I might lean more toward cyber because I like the video games where it's about survival, it's about conservative.
So honestly, it sounds like they're getting 0.5 apiece, so they're each getting 1 point.
I would give a full point for me personally. Steampunk gets a full point. Cyberpunk would get a half point for me because
You'll
I
get
don't
1 point, Jake.
okay, then Steampunk. Jackass.
As you were saying about Cyberpunk being a better video game, I think that's a large reason why you don't see
Many
many
steampunk
games is because while it's a really cool universe,
And actually,
It's hard to come up with a game like
Right.
I want to touch on that in a minute.
Okay, we'll talk. Yeah, we'll get into video game culture.
I'm actually, you know what? Oh, screw it. I'll just give it to Steampunk. I'm sorry, Cyberpunk. I do love you. I promise.
We love you as a game, not necessarily as.
We
a
don't want
culture.
you as we love you as a game. We think you're a great warning for reality.
Yes.
yeah,
And yeah, like Jamie just touched up on, Steampunk. There's not a lot of steampunk centric
I'm gonna
games.
throw something at you
What?
because I'm gonna bring that up later.
I thought we were coming up with it right now.
I meant after Pockets, with his little cyberpunk notes.
What?
Yeah, I came prepared with some questions. you know?
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
This is more. Well, we could actually. Are we done assigning points for this whole thing overall? This is more like.
No, the points are something that's gonna go the whole cast.
Okay.
Okay. But yeah, we can have stuff in between.
Right.
If you want to make up some questions on the spot, go ahead. But
I don't work that way. It doesn't happen.
I do.
We know.
This is one question that I think would be the more interesting of them all. What about AIs? Because AIs would be a fully realized into artificial intelligence, and if we develop them, would they have the same rights as humans, or would they be second-class citizens?
I think we treat them like technology.
Yeah, they'd be second class citizens.
Yes.
I don't,
As they dealt with it in Star Trek, and I don't know if anybody else knows what I'm talking about, but they have.
He looks at me. Jamie looks at me when he says
Of course, because you might know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
They
I do love Star
have
Trek.
AI-type beings, but they don't let them live long enough to develop a conscious
Ooh,
personality.
That would be a great way to do it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Because
so
if you let them survive long enough, they'll start developing more and questioning themselves and who they are and their existence. And by that time, they're considered an actual being. And they have one in the series, and I can't remember its name. But they actually built a virtual reality for it to live in. Because they couldn't kill it because it had become sentient.
So,
see, I've never looked at AIs before as
like,
the possibility of a sentient being or considering it like a second-class citizen. I've always looked at AI as technology. Like, you don't look at a computer and be like, all right, this is like a second-class
Bob?
being. Yeah, I've always looked at AIs as a tool more than anything, than something I could relate to.
I think what would happen, honestly, is iRobot. I feel like that is probably the most accurate way that it would happen. They would eventually end up developing sentience, but we would treat them as technology up until something made us realize, oh, crap, these things have thoughts
We
now.
took it for
Like
take it for granted.
Effect, too.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. You haven't played that.
No.
No, I know what you're talking about, though.
Yeah.
Shout out to Storm Bermudez, who tried to kill me the other day when I told her I only got partway through the first one.
I'm going to murder you, too. I hope you know that.
I'm here.
I almost murdered him last week when he told me he hadn't finished playing Red Dead Redemption, finished the storyline.
What?
That's my exact reaction!
What? And you say you like Wild West?
And you haven't beat the game?
Do you know how many Louis L'Amour books I've read?
Your points?
That Louis L'Amour books are more a cornerstone of the Wild West
Yes, we know.
than...
But it doesn't change the fact that Red Dead Redemption
Exactly.
is possibly
Anyway.
the best Wild West
Anyway.
game ever.
Regardless, I'm going to end it by saying the reason I didn't finish Red Dead because I was too busy doing other stuff in Red Dead.
That's
Still
acceptable.
not
Okay.
acceptable.
Acceptable.
I disagree. Anywho, and I
It's only
didn't wanna be
acceptable in
Jack.
Skyrim.
And I didn't want to be Jack.
You didn't have to be Jack. Just beat the storyline and stop playing. Or start it over again. That's a different podcast.
Yes.
Okay, we'll get to that later.
Josh is a horrible human being. Oh god, that could take forever to do.
No, we're doing a Red Dead podcast. some
Oh,
other time.
that might take less than forever.
Should have a podcast on why I'm a terrible human being, though.
But yeah, so how we would consider AI, I guess I answered it in my way, is the fact that I never considered it as a second class or sentient being. It's just I've always looked at it
It
as
would
a
make
tool.
me incredibly fat. Like, because it would end up being
More
like
so than
iRobot.
normal?
Because it would end up being like iRobot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See Wall.
Oh wait, when we're talking about iRobot, we're talking about the Will Smith movie, not the books.
Yeah.
The movie is not based on the books.
Well, based on, but it's not.
It's based on the
like.
based on the universe,
Okay.
not the movies.
Right.
Speaking of that, iRobot 2 is coming out in the next couple of years.
Wait, what?
Yeah, they're coming out with
Insane.
iRobot 2.
Better have Will Smith.
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
look at Will Smith's IMDb, it's everything coming out after this movie After Earth is a bunch of sequels.
So?
Wait, hold up. Are they doing Bel Air?
No.
God,
Oh
no.
my god.
Like, I love Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Anyway, back to topic. Focus.
Anybody remember what we were talking about?
Something about
AI.
robots and shit, right? Okay.
Yeah. So, next question, because I think we've answered that pretty thoroughly.
Yeah. What about? Well, no, I thought about this and I would.
Can we go to the next one?
The question was, what about semi-aware robots?
So robots that are like
not-
borderline sentient?
They're not borderline. They're just dumb programmed to do one thing.
Then that's where
That's
where it
technology.
comes in as
That's a tool.
That's where it comes in as a tool, and how I would normally view AIs.
I wonder if sentient robots would ever like be able to like jack into these dumb robots and like give them intelligence, because that would be terrifying.
Huh?
Robot rebellion. Reasons I
Matrix.
prefer steampunk. No robot rebellion.
Yeah.
This is the only other one that I really want to hit on. What about the people that escape into the net? Because we already have that nowadays. People just escape to the net, do whatever they want. What about
Like
people who...
people with internet addiction?
Yeah, we already have that now. But what about people who physically just link in and don't leave ever?
They
Isn't that kind of
die?
encouraged?
I think they become vegetables,
Yeah.
basically.
Would be harvested for nutrients from the robots.
I think it would
Or it
become,
just kind of ends up like dot hack and it's depressing.
I think it would come down to like the cigarette type thing where people like think it's cool at first and they have a lot of fun, but then it becomes an addiction and it slowly deteriorates.
I think it would become an addiction because people would use it as a tool.
Well,
And-
as of right now, internet addiction is becoming a classified addiction.
Right,
And
no,
a
I know.
classified, I think mental instability or something like that.
Yeah.
Just like television addiction.
Yeah, And so I feel like if you took that any further to the point where like you could literally jack into your computer where you get a plug, you somehow plug it into your body, and all of a sudden Facebook becomes its own universe where you're walking around with friends.
I would
in a
primarily
Facebook
use it for
world.
gaming.
Yeah, and I think that's where like the whole virtual reality gaming.
There's a movie kind of about that too. I can't remember the name of it, but in the movie, people would
Matrix?
no, people had pods that they would lay in, and it attached to a robot that they
Surrogates.
controlled.
That's Cyberpunk.
Circuits?
Surrogate.
Surrogates, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
of course
what it
it's
is.
Cyberpunk. This whole discussion, these questions are your questions from the Cyberpunk.
Well, no, that
Yes.
was his thing, though.
Oh,
I know, I was
you
making
brought
this
it up on the topic of the Cyberpunk.
I was
question.
bringing up something Cyberpunk related, so yes, it was Cyberpunk Pockets. Anyways, I don't remember what my point was.
In case y'all can't tell, we love to abuse pockets.
Plugging,
And he's a great sport about it usually.
Plugging into a pod.
Yes, people would plug into a pod and control basically a robot of themselves that was aesthetically perfect and really strong and basically a miniature superhero, but not because it's kind of over the top.
I think that's where it comes into play, where people would want that more than their real life.
Exactly, and that's what happens. People don't leave their houses; they just live in their pods.
I would.
And then a guy's like AI breaks down, and he has to go to get like a pod in human form, and people are all looking at him like he's some ugly monster kind of thing.
I just realized
Really cool.
a Cyberpunk book I read. It's a Pendragon book. And I think it's the fourth one, and I can't. It's the Cyberbug, and it's where if you've read the Pendragon
No, really,
series,
that's Cyberpunk. Something with that title.
Because what he said really brings up a point. If you've read the Pendragon series, the Cyberbug is about the main character goes to this.
It's a world where pretty much everybody's hooked up to a pyramid.
Yeah, and
there's-
living their perfect life.
Yeah.
And outside of the world, it's completely gone. It's completely run down.
Yeah.
People. I think they said like people go days, weeks, and I think even months inside their pod. And he's like, "Well, how do they live?" They're like, "Oh, well, they have these two things attached to them where they like basically through osmosis feed the people and stuff." And I think like it just the whole plugging into a pod and people like deteriorating. I think that was what really kind of like made that click in my head. And like that was actually one of my favorite Pendragon books because that was it was just kind of a cool way to look at what the future could possibly be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just little side note about Pendragon. The name also rang a bell in my head from a completely different genre. Uther Pendragon is the father of King Arthur.
What's that got to do with Cyberpunk and Steampunk?
Nothing.
Doesn't it's just cool?
It's fun fact of the day.
Awesome. So were those all the questions you had?
One other thing that I kind of want to touch on because I think this might be one where Jamie will enjoy. What about the technology that's being developed that we have now? I'm more hitting on the Google glasses than anything else.
Yeah.
Because that is augmented reality. That is a hardcore tenet of Cyberpunk.
Well,
I think that's the beginning of what we were just talking about.
What about it?
Well, think about it. You could, I'm going to use an example of a play. So now you have to see live action, and you can't really do special effects on the spot as of now.
right.
So then from that, in an augmented reality world, you could key in so that when their swords clash, you can create a metallic ringing sound, you can create sparks.
So what
do a lot more with
what
that.
you're suggesting that is like
Using these to augment reality?
Yeah.
yeah. So basically, you go to a play, you throw these glasses on, and like maybe there's a program at the play you can download into.
Yep.
And so when something happens and you're wearing the glasses
It,
make
syncs
the
up.
effect.
Mhm.
They sync up and make that effect.
I think it would start like that, and then we would eventually prefer the augmented reality over our own and start developing, and it would snowball down into what we were talking about previously.
Yeah.
This is true of almost all new technologies, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure people in the early 1900s were saying the same thing about cars.
Yeah. Like, what happened? They was right.
I'm still looking for self-controlled cars where I can just sit in my car and be like, go here, and it just drives me there. It's just so much easier.
Then you got to
All
wonder
right.
what happens if there's a car crash. How did that happen? The robot's uprising.
Oh God, no!
Or a
For the
hacker
record,
got
I have-
really good.
For the record, I have several plans for a robot uprising. Like I do
Of course
zombies.
you do.
We know.
So, what what's next on the docket there,
I'm
Josh?
pretty much done with mine.
All right. I was actually going to segue. I was going to segue into video games.
Okay.
We've already touched on the fact that there aren't many steampunk ones, but I was thinking honestly, Steampunk Red Dead.
There's steampunk elements in video games too, like
There is.
Skyrim.
Yeah.
Yeah, the drummer.
Yeah.
I think
Or if you're not educated in Skyrim lore, the dwarves.
I think when it comes
wrong.
I think when it comes
'Cause they're clever.
video games and even movies, you don't see a huge steampunk is a centric game. What you see is a centered game. You see elements of it just thrown into
Exactly.
the game.
Actually,
Whereas cyberpunk games are more likable to play because it comes down to the whole surviving.
I think another part of that is that there's in steampunk it's kind of ethereal. There's the technology, but we already touched on there's not a whole lot else. I mean, oftentimes it's aligned with dystopian,
Right.
but with
That gives it somewhere to go.
cyberpunk has built into its genre a plot that people inherently find interesting. It's an underdog plot waiting to happen.
I can think of one movie that is inherently steampunk, and it's called La Cité des Enfants, or in English, The City of Lost Children.
And it's French.
Yes. It's basically about a mad scientist who is, if I remember correctly, cloning, he is capturing children and stealing their dreams to try and keep himself young.
That's weird.
Yeah.
That is weird.
It's really
trippy.
cool.
This thought just hit me. And you guys can say if it's stupid or wrong or anything, but I think the reason why steampunk games aren't that
Prevalent.
is because they're mainly take place in the past. There's nothing you can really do with the past and nothing you can change about it.
Unless you're Rockstar. Evidently.
Unless you go alternate universe.
But what I'm
which
getting
happens in Dark
What I'm
Void.
getting at here
Yeah.
with Cyberpunk is the fact that there's always that possibility that maybe that's the future, and people like to play it because
It's possible.
it's a way of playing it, enjoying the game, but it's also a way of coming up with a plan of what happens when the shit hits hits the fan, and so they're like, oh, okay, so yeah, this game's really fun, and then because I do this in games all the time, if this was a zombie apocalypse, this is what I would do, and I do it in the game,
Yeah.
and so it's basically
That's what I do too.
I think in a way, it's a way of preparing for what people feel like what might happen in the future with technology on the rise.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why there's more cyberpunk than
And with Cyberpunk, you can also build in a group of rebels.
yeah.
It fits in like a glove, and
Yeah.
people will always find that concept attractive.
One thing that I know a lot of you people might not have realized, but Dishonored.
Yeah, it's totally.
It is a
Dishonored.
Steam.
That's Steam.
I haven't played it either, but just looking at gameplay
That's
and trailers,
Steam.
it's
Oh,
a
yeah.
huge
Steam.
steampunk game.
That's huge Steam.
And the Professor Langton series, apparently, as well.
Never heard of it.
I know it's a
gamer anyway.
It's a puzzle series.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, some of the Cyberpunk games are, like I said,
Deus
Deus
Ex.
Ex, Blade. There's actually a Blade Runner game.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Not that good, I bet.
Did it come out recently?
97.
Never
Never
mind.
mind. I'm gonna go ahead and ignore that.
Go ahead,
'Cause I like the movies too much.
Cyberpunk 2020, which is coming out in 2 years, and that looks amazing.
Wonder where the guy
It's coming out 5 years before.
It's okay. Blood Dragon came out
Yeah.
now, but it's
2
set.
weeks.
it's set years in the past.
Like I said, Final Fantasy VII, that's one. Shadowrun games, yes. The 07 game is not that good.
Now, Shadowrun, is that a console game?
That is...
There is a console game of Shadowrun, but it's crap.
Okay.
No, there's 2 of them.
Where did
Oh, there
Shadowrun
are?
start?
Yes.
Is it,
And they're both crap.
No, they're not.
Shadowrun is a pen and paper RPG.
okay.
And since you don't know, it's cyberpunk mixed with
Fantasy.
standard fantasy.
Okay.
Dwarves, elves, magic,
Goblins.
shit.
There are goblins.
Orcs.
Fable.
There's Goblin Rock.
We didn't bring
Okay.
up Fable.
Fable became steampunk.
Yes.
Yeah.
But since Fable 2 and 3... Fable got progressively worse.
Yeah.
What was Fable 1? What was that?
That was high fantasy. That
Yeah,
was
high
only
fantasy.
fantasy.
It was
Okay.
awesome. I loved it.
Then Fable 2 started introducing a lot of steampunk, like the guns were very steampunk designed. Fable 3 had a lot of steampunk in it. There was there was a whole DLC that was entirely steampunk.
Yeah.
Would
And-
Assassin's Creed be considered cyberpunk since you're linking into something?
Oh wow, yeah. when people talk about Assassin's Creed, I generally think of the memories. But
you're technically linking
that would be
into
Cyberpunk,
those memories.
especially because Abstergo is a corporation.
Yeah,
Right.
And it is heavily implied that they are a mega corporation.
Yeah, but it's never really implied of what if it's a dystopian future. It's just implied that
I think it's supposed to be modern day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, it was set in like present day.
Half-Life.
Jeez.
Half-Life, Portal, like James suggested.
Well, no, more Portal than Half-Life because Black Mesa was just a research company.
Yeah,
and then
but they're in the same universe.
Same universe, yes, but it's very different games.
The only reason I know the same universe is because in the song "Still Alive," Gladys references talking to Black Mesa.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never even thought about that before. Mainly because I didn't know really a lot about Cyberpunk, but Assassin's Creed, yeah. And now that we talked about it more, I think it could
So I'm pretty sure you're like all for Cyberpunk right now because Final Fantasy and Assassin's Creed.
I'm still kind of John.
Yeah. That means Steampunk must be really good.
Well, Steampunk handles in eras that I really like, and plus, aesthetically wise, Steampunk always like captured my eye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot more art that is Steampunk than there is Cyberpunk too, which is a big part of it for me.
And a lot of the art is making functional things and then just making them pretty. Like if you've seen the Steampunk laptops. People have and computers.
Yeah, those look so cool. We were actually just at Bellingham last week. Not last week, it was 2 weeks
and
ago.
There was
we walked into this.
It was just a random store. We decided, maybe we should go in, and then we said, okay, why not?
We looked inside the store like, we need to go in because it was a total geeky looking store. There was 2 things in a display case of Cyberpunk guns.
They were so cool.
Looked so cool. They weren't referenced. They weren't referenced to any game. It's just some dude that just made Cyberpunk guns.
No, Steampunk.
Steampunk guns.
Yeah, no. Golden Age Collectibles in Seattle also has some Steampunk things and some Cyberpunk. Yeah, and some Cyberpunk as well.
Nice.
They have hand phasers from Star Trek.
Yep.
Yeah,
I think they have OS ones because they look better.
In the video, I'll throw in pictures of like steampunk-like weapons.
Make sure they're royalty free.
Okay, well, and then I'll just pull them off. I guess I can't pull them off Google Images then.
No.
Okay, well, I'll talk about it after when I'm editing it. But anyway, yeah. I mean, do we have anything else to talk about?
Um,
Do we want to give our
covered games, movies? We've pretty much exhausted this. How much have you learned from this?
I've learned a lot. I've actually
too.
I've learned just like it's kind of opened my eyes because I've realized that I've watched a lot of movies. I've played a lot of games that were steampunk
and
or cyberpunk, and I've now that we're talking about steampunk and how elements have been thrown into games, I'm thinking about like the games I've played where cyberpunk or steampunk's been thrown in.
Is there anything in like this last bit of discussion that would make you throw a point to either one of them?
I don't know. I would say overall I like steampunk more because of the fact that it's with cyberpunk, it's where the future could possibly go, and where future looks like it might be heading. With the fact of how fast technology's been advancing lately,
right?
And it's something that like, who would want to deal with that? And like, why would you want to live?
We might have
area?
to.
And yeah, we might have to. But steampunk's kind of it's cool because it's
a little more ideal.
Yeah, it's ideal and it messes with the eras I like. I think overall, like they're both great. I love both of them from what we've been talking about.
And steampunk has jetpacks.
Well, yeah, steampunk has jetpacks. I think overall, I would take steampunk over cyberpunk. Cyberpunk games are fun, but what I'm thinking is what I would rather live in. Mm-hmm. I would love to live in a steampunk universe.
All right. So shall I tally up the points and tell everyone
what we came to? I'm pretty sure. Steampunk came up on top there.
Steampunk has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points, and Cyberpunk has 1.
Really?
Yeah. I thought we were divvying. Never mind. I thought we were doing like the half points thing, but.
Well, technically, then Steampunk would have an extra half point.
Okay, never mind then. So just for us at least.
For us, Steampunk won in the landslide.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily for everyone. It's just how we felt and like how we
tell us what you think. And you know what? You guys vote, and we may have to overturn our.
This may be something we come back to in the future.
Oh yeah, probably. I mean, these two are titans in the fictional world, and they've always had this rivalry. It's kind of like Star Trek and Star Wars, or Kirk and Picard.
Points wise, yeah, Steampunk won, But overall, for me, I like both of them.
Oh yeah,
And
I love them both.
They're both great genres, especially from what I've learned from today. They're two genres that I would love to look into more and get into.
I cannot get the image of the steampunk buccaneer out of my head, so I'm going to create a pen and paper character that is a steampunk buccaneer.
Sure,
now.
you will. But I think
like
that's
your tinkerer who has the little spider bot.
Yes.
That's yeah.
You'll have to tell me more about that.
I will. So
this actually ran a lot longer than I was expecting, and I'm glad. I'm glad it ran this long because I was worried it was going to be a real quick podcast.
Oh no, this was a great one. Lots of rich content.
I feel like once again, thanks to our guests, we had great content. We had lots of stuff to talk about. I learned a lot. I had my eyes really opened up in the steampunk and cyberpunk
Oh
world.
yeah, me too. And now I'm going to enjoy them a little more thoroughly because I can recognize them.
Definitely, when I'm playing games from now on and looking and watching movies, I think what I'm going to be doing more than anything is looking for the cyberpunk and steampunk elements.
So, thank you, James, and thank you, Pockets, for educating us and putting in your input.
Definitely, it was great having you on today.
Thank you for having me again.
No problem.
Yeah, it's our first repeat.
First repeat, and I mean, not the last. James will be on.
James is going to come on a lot.
Yeah, James always has pretty good content.
Better learn to like me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pockets, great content too. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
It was great.
Pockets actually came prepared, which is never happened.
Well, I think he's like one of the first people that came prepared.
Except for me, but I don't really count because I'm crazy.
Yeah.
So, viewers, there is a chance we could have you on the podcast, and thank you, because you're the reason we do this.
One, if you're local to us and know where we live, and two, if you're friends with us. We're not gonna. I don't think we'd pull just a random stranger from.
Or you can get your own plane ticket.
Yeah. But so comment, send us an inbox at the Nerdquest Tumblr, share.
We cannot emphasize share enough.
Seriously, get the word out.
Like it, favorite it, share it.
If you're listening to this, I know you're gonna have more. I know you have more nerdy friends that will probably want to listen to this. So be sure to get them on it and suggest to them. And
I'm corrupting people in the Midwest with this podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Corruption.
Yeah. So thank you guys. You're like our reason for continuing this, and I think that sounds like time to sign out.
Sounds like time to sign out. Next week, though, and it's been a couple podcasts since we gave a next week.
Oh, do we have a next week?
We do have a next week.
Oh, what is our next week, Shane?
Our next week is a Red Dead Redemption podcast.
Woo!
It's an old game, 2010, but
I'm gonna get reamed on this next one.
Josh and I still play it religiously.
I better beat the game this coming week, because if not, I'm gonna get reamed.
You better. I just got back into playing it. I'm in the middle of the story right now. I just met Landon Ricketts.
Landon Ricketts. And if you listen to our other podcasts, I don't know, any of them, Landon Ricketts is awesome. He's one of our favorite characters.
Mm-hmm. We really talked about him a lot in the last one.
Yeah, but we may or may not have a guest on it.
Mm-hmm. Send in questions you want to hear about Red Dead.
Please.
The
Red Dead or the Wild West in general.
Yes, the Nerdquest Podcast will be, or the Tumblr will be, the links will be in the description of the video, along with our Facebook page. Click on that, like it, subscribe,
favorite it,
follow, favorite, all that stuff.
Especially
get the word out, spread this like wildfire.
All right, and peace out.
Bye.